They have powers beyond our imagination. Fast, fearless, sometimes ferocious. But why are so many of the world's greatest comic book characters based on animals? Get ready for the surprising story of how animals helped inspire some of the comic book world's most legendary characters. On Animal Icons, Comic Book Creatures.
Flight just represents the ultimate freedom. So it's no surprise to me that super flight, the ability to fly, would be one of the first powers that is given to all of our heroes.
Up in the sky, look! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's Superman!
Peter Parker's web-spinning alter ego became the best-loved character of the 1960s to be inspired by an insect.
Stan Lee took a spider, which is an insect that most people are afraid of, and found a way to make him really cool.
In 1975, the X-Men's membership grew to include a breakout star with an animal signature. Wolverine, created by writer Len Wein, evoked not only the weasel-related mammal that inspired his name, he also possessed the vicious ferocity of a wolf.
What's interesting about Wolverine is he takes on wolf-like characters, even though there doesn't appear to be, a wolf-like, beginning to his origin stories. He's got this long hair, he's got these sharp teeth, he's got retractable claws. Wolverine's creation story had to do with scientific experiments and bonding all this metal to his body and all kinds of other stuff that both the comic books and the films have kept very hush-hush. But he very much embodies that very basic quality of attacking when we're pushed.
Wolverine also reflects the classic comic book shorthand of linking a superhero with a famous animal to telegraph personality. Starting in 1939, this half-human, half-amphibian was both friend and foe to mankind, and his adventures introduced comic book fans to a school of underwater villains.
Submariner was an undersea creature, was angry at all of humanity, but he had amazing superpowers, like he could swim 100 miles an hour, and he had the ability to, communicate with fish and all of these really cool qualities. Submariner did play on our fears of the unknown and that whole mythological universe of Atlantis, which is where he comes from.
But some underwater comic book stars have shown a more positive relationship between humans and the ocean. Take Aquaman, the so-called King of the Sea, who sprang from the briny depths of DC Comics in 1941.
Aquaman, he was a great hero who fought for man. He could communicate with the fish. He could swim 60 miles an hour. His one weakness, of course, is that he couldn't survive outside of water for more than an hour. So he had to be in the water. He was part of the water. He organically identified with everything about the water, from his costume to the way he acted. And so he was a very positive example of an undersea hero.
But few characters found bigger laughs mixing animals and superheroes than the gung-ho crime fighter called the Tick.
He can jump high, huge distances like a real tick, can hop and jump. And then he's got these antennas on the top of his head that balance him a lot like real-life insects that have antennae that help keep them balanced.
Without a doubt, no comic book animals of the 1980s were a bigger cash cow than the team that became an international phenomenon, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
They were created as a fluke. They were created as a parody. You had these two creators sitting down in their living room one day to create a hero comic book. Black and white print run, 3,000 comics, and then all of a sudden they developed a cult following.
Part of what made the Ninja Turtles triumph with fans was the way they played against our perception of the animal they're based on.
They're actually the antithesis of what a turtle would be. I mean, when you think of a turtle, it's kind of like hiding in its shell, pulled back, slow. I mean, these guys kick butt. They jump out, they're ninja fighting. So they started out as parody heroes, but have really come into their own as one of the most successful heroes in comic book and television today.
But not every comic book animal took center stage. Some were super pets for more famous superheroes. Remember Superman's dog, Krypto?
Krypto the super dog had all of the abilities that Superman had. So he had the ability to fly, he even wore a cape, and he was really the first pet sidekick that existed in comics. Ant-Man was a scientist. There's some experiment that goes wrong. All of a sudden, he's able to shrink down to the size of an ant, telepathically communicate with them, command legions of ants as his army.
And then I gave him the Wasp as a girlfriend. She has the ability to fly like a wasp. So I called her the Wasp.
And the whole concept of having an ant and a wasp together in union, I mean, that just doesn't make sense because in reality, wasps eat ants.
I think I was a little bit crazy in those days, but it did seem to work out okay.
Let's go, but inconspicuously.